Welcome to the Seamless HR podcast yet again. My name is Milka and I'll be your host for today. I'm so glad to be your host today. Today we have a very interesting guest. We'll get to know a little bit more about him as time goes, and they will majorly be discussing disruption. So today we have Elvis Mayaka with us, and he will tell us a little bit more about himself, what role he has played in HR, and what role he's playing. Elvis, you're welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you, Milka. Pleasure meeting you. And also thank you for giving this opportunity to talk about myself and just to discuss about business, leadership, and everything in between. So I can introduce myself as a business leader who has over 10, 11 years experience in IoT. I've also worked in FMCG, hospitality, and finance. Recently, I started working as a CEO, where I drive business and partnership growth. This is in East, Central, and West Africa. But my foundation mostly has been in HR, through strategic management. And now, as I'm in this CEO position, I'm also blending that HR experience with business just to ensure that in my company I'm fostering innovation, and I'm also streamlining operation and also just building lasting partnerships. Yeah, so been working here for 4 years now in this company. It's an IoT company where we sell hardware. And we are helping clients grow in Central Africa and West Africa as well. So as a person, I don't know if you wanted me also to introduce myself personally or just also business-wise.
Business-wise is fine.
Business-wise is fine. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Even as we proceed, we are talking about an interesting topic which is very relevant for today, because of the many changes that are happening in the business world, and I'm also happy that you're a business leader. So this is not something that is new to you. So we're going to be talking about disruption. So I'd like to hear your take on what disruption means in business.
Okay. Yeah. Disruption is it's quite an interesting topic. I mean, especially in recent times, we've seen a lot of industries that have had to change. They've had to adopt new ways of doing business because of there are different disruptions. But before I even delve into that, I may want to just in my own words to explain what I understand by disruption, and as a leader how these comes into play. So for me, I think it refers to significant and unexpected changes and that challenge the way businesses operate. And they can be, technological. They can be due to economic downtimes. They can even be regulatory changes, as well as evolving consumer behaviors. So for me, I think that as a leader, disruption can be both a challenge and an opportunity. So it just depends with how you see it. I think that disruption forces companies and even leaders to rethink strategy. So I mentioned about technological changes, also mentioned about regulatory changes. So these are changes that are instituted by the government. For example, here in Kenya, we had recently the tax agency decided to come up with a new policy ensuring that all companies have to have what they call a NITINS integration. So that actually affected a lot of businesses. So these are some of those disruptions that are caused by regulatory changes, technological changes. Of course, we also have so many disruptions that have happened just recently. Artificial intelligence, AI, which is a big thing, yeah. So businesses need to see how they can adopt and see how they can adjust their strategies to make sure that they are taking advantage of these new disruptions that are happening around. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. It sounds like you're very familiar with disruption. Is it the norm now, or is it still one of those things that happen once in a while? Is it normal for you? Like, is it something you deal with every day?
I think disruption has been there, since way back. This is the only time that we're experiencing disruptions in business. I think that industries have been going through different shifts due to technology, digital transformation, and even changing customer expectations. For example, you can see an industry, for example, in retail. Before we had retail which was dominated by physical stores, but right now we have these has shifted to e-commerce platforms. For example, different nowadays in Kenya, I think most business is done through these e-commerce platforms. When you are shopping, most likely you'd go to our website and then order whatever you're ordering rather than going to the physical store. So before, people are going to physical stores, but now I think a bigger percentage of people are shopping online. So that is a major disruption. So even shops that only had physical stores, or shops that only have physical stores, you'll find that their sales might be low compared to shops that have both an e-commerce platform or an online store together with that physical store. So that is something that has been happening from way back.
Everybody makes mistakes. Not with the right HR software. Do HR and payroll right with Seamless HR.
Thank you. So I think what you've said has preempted my next question. So disruption is something that definitely happens, and there are many challenges that come with disruption, right? But as a business leader, how do you future-proof your companies against disruption, against all these things that could happen when disruption comes? How do you future-proof?
Okay, right. So I think as a leader, before I even answer that question, I think that the previous question you asked about fears and challenges, how to address these fears is, through data-driven decisions, and also just making sure that communication is clear. I think that when leaders rely on insight rather than assumption, we can confidently navigate through disruption. Now, to your other question, what role do leaders play in leading through these transformations? So I would say that for successful change, it requires clear communication. So leaders should be able to communicate these changes effectively to their stakeholders, to their employees as well. I think they also need to inspire confidence to their teams, because if you are a leader and you look like you're shaken by these new changes and all that, and you're not even communicating clearly these changes to your team, then that's going to be seen by your stakeholders and your employees, and they're not going to be confident. I think that without a strong vision, many organizations would risk making short-term reactive decisions that do not support long-term success. So I think that if you have a clear vision, again, also that really helps a lot, because you go back to your vision and you are able to even again just work from there, and you're able to make decisions that will help the company grow. So as a leader, you're looking back at your strategic vision. What's your vision? Then a company needs to be innovative. So you need to be continuously innovating and adapting so that you're able to still stay ahead of these industry shifts.
So, do you watch Game of Thrones? By any chance? I'm going to say a phrase which I'm sure you're very familiar with. Winter is coming. Yeah?
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
how are you able to know that disruption is coming so that you can be prepared for it?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. And I also watch Game of Thrones. And I remember winter is coming, and people are usually scared whenever they heard about that because they knew what was coming. And I even think in that Game of Thrones, they prepare themselves there was that wall that they built, a very tall wall, just to safeguard themselves from what was coming whenever winter happened. Yeah. So I think there are some strategies that you can actually use to preempt disruption. So I think the first one would be to identify potential disruptors. So there is always a pattern. So you can always look for the common factors that always lead to disruption. The other thing would be to consider environmental factors, even individual behaviors. You can look at potential stressors that cause, issues. So when I talk about individual behavior, even in the setup of for example, a company. So recently you've seen that there are so many cases of mental health, which previously it was really not the norm. You can look at when you're looking at environmental factors. For example, now you're looking at things like climate change. So how is this going to affect businesses? Recently, I actually came to learn that there are companies or consultancies actually consulting around, climate change and even carbon credit. So this is a new thing that is actually caused by environmental factors. So I think identify potential disruptors and looking at recurring patterns and even just common factors that normally lead to disruptions. One of the most commonest factor for sure, it's technology. So I think you need to always research, especially when it comes to technology. See what guys are doing, what is being built. Try to see how these can affect, businesses, so that by the time it's going to affect businesses, you found that as a company, you've actually stayed ahead of it. Yeah, so I think the other one is to set clear expectation and boundaries. So you can establish consequences of disruptive behavior, and you can even discuss desired behaviors and even just how to achieve them. This is now when it comes to your employees and even just the stakeholders. I think the other issue would be proactive communication. So you need to address concerns as a leader and even potential issues openly and directly with individuals or even groups. You need also to encourage open feedback in your organization so as to identify potential problems, early on, together also with your clients. And I also think that you need to be actively monitoring and looking for early interventions on how to deal with these disruptions.
I like the strategies that you mentioned on how to stay ahead of the curve in matters disruption. But I'm also curious to find out, because you said you joined your organization in 2020 or 2019?
I joined in 2021.
Oh, 2021, just when COVID was ending?
Yeah, just when COVID was ending.
Okay, when COVID was ending, when people were probably working from home still, largely or hybrid. So I'd just like to find out from you, what are the if you could just give us 2 of your best strategies for ensuring that productivity does not change or does not decline, even when you're making those changes to adapt to disruption.
Okay, all right. So I think on top of my head, the first one would be consistent communication with the teams. How are these changes affecting them? And through opening communication channels with the team. And now, for example, where I work in my company, we use Microsoft Teams. So you are able to chat with any employee. In as much as maybe I'm a CEO, I can still chat with even the salesperson. So opening these communication channels to ensure that you're dealing with any arising issues that employees might face due to the disruptions that are happening. So that is very important. Not only just opening these communication channels, but also you as a leader communicating effectively to employees, communicating these changes, even telling them how it's going to affect them. Because I remember during COVID, there are some companies that had to cut salaries, maybe like by 50%. But in as much as you're cutting salary, you still need to ensure that employees are able to afford, their basic needs, and that performance is not affected.